Good morning, everyone. Here is my report on Republic Act number 8792, or the Electronic Commerce Act of 2000. As you may have noticed, we are surrounded by the letter E. We send and receive emails, request for e-copies of our lectures, and even attach our e-signatures on electronic documents. We are living in an era dominated by technology and electronic means, from how we communicate to gather information and even engage in commercial transactions. And the government recognizes the potential and importance of electronic means in the nation's progress. But they also recognize the danger of it if it's not regulated. Thus, the creation of such laws like RA 8792, or otherwise known as the E-Commerce Act, is done. Okay. In my report, we will be discussing about first the general information of the law, then the definition of terms, the coverage of the law, the declaration of the law, and lastly, general provisions of the law. So for the general information, RA number 8792 is otherwise known as the Electronic Commerce Act of the year 2000. It was signed by former President Joseph E. Estrada on June 14th, 2000. And according to Section 34 of the law, entitled Implementing Rules and Regulations, here are some of the agencies involved in the implementation and regulation of RA 8792. So first, you have the Department of Trade and Industry, Department of Budget and Management, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, Department of Transportation and Communications, National Telecommunications Commission, National Computer Center, National Information Technology Council, and Commission on Audit. So the objective of the law is to make information technology easier for people and businesses when they utilize it for their dealings, agreements, and for storing information. Aside from this, it makes electronic transactions safer for the public and for the government as well. And it ensures that electronic data and documents are considered authentic and reliable so that whenever they use it on their dealings and agreements and storing and when they're storing information, they could trust the information that they have received and gathered. Okay. So next up, we have the definition of terms. So these terms are very simple and pretty much self-explanatory. So first, we have the term addressee. So it refers to a person who is intended by the originator to receive the electronic data message or electronic document. So basically, compare natin siya sa process of communication, the addressee is the receiver. So that's, yung gano'n na siya kasimple. Ang addressee ay ang receiver ng electronic data message and ng electronic document. But it does not include a person acting as an intermediary with respect to that electronic data message or electronic document. So yung mga intermediaries, hindi natin siya pwedeng i-consider as addressees. Next, we have computer. It is any device or apparatus that is interconnected by electronic, electromechanical, optical, and or magnetic impulse or other means with same function that receives, records, transmits, stores, process, correlate, analyze, projects, retrieves, and or produce information, data, text, graphics, figures, voice, video, symbols, or other modes of expression. So yeah, alam ko naman na you already know what computer is. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay. So we have electronic data message. It refers to the information generated, sent, received, or stored by electronic, optical, or similar means. So it's the information itself. Next, we have information and communication system. It is the system of generating, sending, receiving, storing, or otherwise processing electronic data messages or electronic documents. So, in comparison, para mas maunawaan natin, it's basically the entire process of communication. So, yun yung parang gawin nating pagkatulad. So, yeah. So, it's the entirety of the system. Next, we have electronic signature. It is any distinctive mark, characteristic, and or sound in electronic form, representing the identity of a person and attached to or associated with electronic data message or electronic document. So, ito yung nagre-represent ng ating identity in electronic documents or electronic data message. Next, we have electronic document. It is any information or representation of information, data, figure, symbols, or other modes of written expression. So, anong kaibahan ng electronic document sa electronic data message? So, electronic data message refers to the information itself that is generated, sent, or received, while electronic documents are actual documents that contain figures, symbols, or other modes of written expression. Kasi very general yung term na electronic data message. It could be in a form of videos, could be in a form of voice messages. So wala tayong nababasa na figure symbols and walang written expressions. On the other hand, ang electronic document naman ay merong written expressions. Next, we have electronic keys, which are secret codes that defends and secures sensitive information as it crosses over to public channels. So it is only decipherable with a matching electronic key. Next, we have intermediary. It is the person who, in behalf of another person and with respect to a particular electronic data message or document, sends, receives, and or stores or provides other services. So, basically, siya yung sa termino natin ay yung middleman. So, siya yung nasa gitna ng addressee tsaka ng ating originator or yung sender, which is i-discuss naman natin mamaya. Next, you have originator. It is the person who creates, generates, or sends the electronic data message or the document. So basically, yung ating sender. Next, service provider. So these are services or network access or operators of facilities that offers transmissions, routing, or providing connections for online communication. So alam na rin naman natin yung term na yan. So it's basically yung mga tao nga na nagpa-provide ng mga services so that maging posible yung online communications and transactions. Okay. So next we have is for the coverage of the law, we have the sphere of application. This law, RA 8792, covers all types of electronic messages and documents used for business and non-business activities both within the country and internationally. It includes things like deals, transactions, agreements, contracts, and the storage of information. So yeah. Next, for the declaration of the law, like what I've mentioned kanina, the government recognizes the importance of ICT when it comes to nation building and the progress of our nation. So in the declaration of the law, we will be discussing about different other information regarding RA 8792. So again, the Philippine government recognizes the importance of ICT in national development and global community. It promotes easy access to affordable ICT products and services, encourages private sector's investments, and fosters ICT skills training. So the declaration of the policy of the state is for the purpose of facilitating electronic transactions, promoting e-commerce, and ensuring the integrity and reliability of electronic data messages and electronic documents and e-signatures. So, i-expound pa natin siya further in the next slide. Okay. So here. So first up, we have legal recognition of electronic documents and signatures. So dito tayo sa general provisions of the law. So basically, sa feature na 'to ng law ay nagpo-provide siya ng legal recognition ng electronic data message, electronic documents, and electronic signatures, thereby granting them the same validity and enforceability as their paper-based counterparts. So, to put it simply, sa law na 'to nire-recognize niya na ang actual printed documents and written signatures has the same value and weight as electronic documents and their electronic counterparts basically. So, nare-recognize siya as long as na-maintain ang kanyang integrity and authenticity, nare-recognize siya as legal paperworks or evidences during legal procedures. So next we have electronic commerce in government. It encourages government agencies to utilize electronic data messages, documents, and signatures in their operations. So ayan nga, nabanggit din naman kanina na because of the importance ng ICT and ng other electronic means, hindi lang ang public and entrepreneurs ang ina-encourage na mag-utilize ICT to our advantage. So, the government uses it to file their documents, their online payments, their submissions of reports, as well as when it comes to communicating with other leaders from other nations. So, next we have privacy and data protection. So, yan, nabanggit din kanina na isa sa mga purpose ng law na to is to regulate and protect the information of the consumers and the users. So, for privacy and data protection, it establishes rules and safeguards for the protection of personal information and privacy in electronic transactions. So it requires entities involved in electronic commerce to implement security measures to protect the confidentiality and integrity of personal information. So, since sinishare nga natin yung mga personal information natin, lalo na yung mga e-signatures, ina-attach natin, we give it out para may attach sa mga electronic documents, this law is created to ensure the protection of our information and privacy. So, it ensures the confidentiality at yung integrity and authenticity ng mga information na ating nare-receive. So, in relation to that, we have consumer protection. It ensures that consumer protection in electronic commerce transactions is present. It requires online sellers to provide accurate and complete information about their products and services. Establishes mechanisms for consumers to complain and engage in dispute resolutions in electronic transactions. So, from the title of the law, E-commerce Act. So, it basically focuses then sa commercial transactions that happen within the online realm. So inoobliga niya yung mga sellers na mag-provide ng totoong information and details about the products and services that they offer sa consumers. So ito ay para maiwasan na maloko yung mga consumers and makapag-engage sila sa mga agreements na mapuput at risk yung kanilang privacy and information. And ayun, nagbibigay rin siya ng platform para makapag-complain ang ating mga consumers and makapag-resolve ng mga disputes between sellers and consumers. Next is for cybercrime prevention. It criminalizes certain cybercrimes katulad ng unauthorized access sa ating computer systems or computer-related fraud and cyber sex offenses and provides penalties for offenses committed through electronic means. Lastly, we have jurisdiction and electronic evidence. It establishes rules on jurisdiction for disputes arising from electronic transactions. It recognizes the admissibility of electronic data messages and documents as evidences in court proceedings. So, napapawan ko na rin naman na kanina, through this law, nabibigyan ng halaga yung mga online transactions and agreements as well as yung mga electronic documents na ating sinishare electronically. So, during court proceedings, pwede natin gamitin as evidences, yung mga documents na na-gather natin, na-receive natin online, as long as it maintains its integrity, it is authentic as well. And nakalimutan ko rin banggitin kanina, regarding sa pag-give out ng electronic signature, of course, recognized siya the same way as we recognize yung written signatures or actual signatures, as long as, again, authentic siya, it maintains its integrity, and meron siyang permission and knowledge ng tao na nagmamay-ari ng signature na yon. So, kung nami-meet niya yung standards na yon, then we can recognize these electronic documents and yung e-signatures similar or having the same value as actual documents. So in simple terms, electronic documents and signatures are legally valid and enforceable. They hold the same legal weight as traditional written documents, and the information contained in electronic messages cannot be denied legal effect just because it is in electronic form or referenced within the message. So, yeah, to sum it up, this act aims to make electronic transactions easier for both domestic and international activities, for consumers, businessmen, and for the government. And it applies to any electronic messages, documents used in commercial and non-commercial transactions as well. And it includes storing of information. Service providers are not allowed to modify the content of electronic documents unless authorized, and they must retain the documents as requested or necessary for their services. This act also promotes the widespread use of electronic transactions in government and by the general public. So, this law's objective is to use electronic means to our advantage without compromising our safety and our privacy. So that is all from my report. Thank you for listening.